Oh, Veronica's getting, we have to give her a second. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. I'm really excited about this. This is like a whole new realm. It's a new year. It's an opportunity for us to explore some new topics together. The goal of today's session is obviously we have, actually, let me do this. Let's do this. We'll do you. We will do him. And then I'll go back to this. Perfect. All right. So our goal today, more than anything, is, like I said, this is an information session. So in various different forums across all of NCC, the Naturally Conscious community, and those of you that are new to NCC, welcome. We're super, super happy to have you here. We've had discussions in different realms of Damanhurian knowledge, Damanhurian information. It, of course, seeps into everything I do and everything I teach. So it is inevitable that we would get here to the place where it's how do we dive deeper into this, what seems sometimes like a bottomless pit in the best possible way of knowledge that is Damanhur. And the Damanhur Mystery School is probably one of the best ways to do that because it is the most holistic view of everything that Damanhur offers in its complexity and also in its beauty. So I'm extremely excited to have Crotalo here with us today. This is going to be very conversational. Like, I'm sure he's going to do an amazing introduction, but I also want you to feel, those of you that are, sprouts in the naturally conscious community, you know that the way we do things is by chatting it out. So this is really an opportunity to ask Crotalo questions, to ask myself questions, for us to brainstorm and get a better idea if this is a path that we want to take together. Do we want to embark on this amazing journey of 3 years where we will really take a long, deep dive into this well of knowledge? And so this is the opportunity to ask your questions, for us to start planning, for us to start thinking about how we want to do this together, because there's a lot of flexibility. But before I go through any of that, some of you may have heard a little bit of this on the podcast episode. If you haven't, please go back and listen to it. This week's podcast is all about the Mystery School, and that's another opportunity for you to also get additional information on what we're doing today. Hello, Michelle, welcome. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to Crotalo Sesamo, who is a long-term Damanhurian, probably known by many of you. But for those of you that don't know him, Crotalo, tell us a little bit about who you are.
Oh my goodness. Well, who I am. Well, I'm an old Damanhurian, if I can say like this, because I've been joining Damanhur when I was very young in 1988. So it's more than 35 years that Damanhur is my greatest adventure. Many of you knows me as an historical ambassador of Damanhur because I've been traveling all over the world to open a new Damanhur center, new Damanhur reference points. I've been recording 2 different seasons on Gaia TV, and one is very famous about, time travel and the time structure. I had the honor to speak at the UN in New York as the representative of Damanhur, only one spiritual community in that very special occasion. I've been very close to Falco for a long, long time. So I'm a teacher, I'm a healer, I'm the director of the Mystery School for over 15 years. I've been at the head of what today we call university welcome office, guest house. So I was the head of all the hospitality of Damanhur. So, and some of you also know me because one of my passion is the mystery archaeology. So I designed different kind of spiritual journey to really live the spirituality life, let's say live in the place. So in these last years, I also been doing many different spiritual journey in Egypt, in Mexico, in Peru, in Bosnia, and in many other interesting places. So my name, Crotalo Sesamo, as you know, is the combination of an animal and plant's name, because these are our spiritual name that we conquer all the way of our spiritual path. Crotalo is the rattlesnake, but no worries, I'm not gonna bite you. Probably I'm gonna make a lot of noise, that's for sure, because it's part of my characteristics. And sesamo is the plants of the sesame seed. So literally, again, I'm spreading the seed of Damanhur all over the world. So I'm a spiritual healer, and I'm very excited to actually answer to all the questions to the very first and still the most complete spiritual path that is very much connected to the original Falco's teaching. So all the different experiences, all the different seminars are very, very much connected to Falco's world, Falco's teaching. I mean, don't misunderstand me. It's not that the other school, they are completely different. But this one in particular, it is very, very much connected to his teaching, and through the knowledge that in a way it never changed all over the time, all over the world. So we changed the different terms to adapt to the culture, to the moments of time. But there's nothing that we are discovering, if not that we are rediscovering. So in a way, we are reawakening memories and things that we already learn, use, and practice a long time ago. But in every lifetime, we know we have to woke up, who I am, from where I'm coming from, and what the heck I'm doing here. Well, okay, the classical three questions that they can come back also more than once in a lifetime. So we need to give new answer, we need to give, new understanding, and this is probably the reason why you're also here, because you're already a very knowledgeable person, and I'm sure you already did a lot of spiritual experiences, but you feel that it's still not enough, that there is something more. And in this case, you want to make an acceleration, you want to make a boost in this, because we know time is running, we're all getting mature. So in a way, we also probably feel the urgency to make things happen, to transform, to really manifest what, spiritually speaking, we feel inside of us. So let's say you are in the right place. And you are obviously also in the right environment, in the right path, because obviously it might be, let's say, pretty simple what I'm saying. But one thing is, okay, there is a guy that I like that is teaching things because he's been channeling, remembering, or who knows from where he got this information. One thing is to be part, not only of a school with several teachers, but part of, let's say, a movement, part of a new civilization, part of a context that is collecting thousands of people. So I'm talking about Damanhur. So we're not talking about the research of one individual. We're talking about the research of thousands of people that every day they spend so much time, because they create an environment to make research in every moment of our life together. So you are going to access to things that are part of something that is definitely bigger than one individual or few individual, but something that is becoming a truly field of research that is touching every element of life. So just to be very clear, the knowledge, the information, the technique, everything that you're going to learn inside of the mystery school, inside of the different seminars, they need to be brought then into practice. So in other hands, they are going to affect your everyday life. Yes, of course, maybe you're not going to do astral traveling while you're driving, okay? But everything that you are going to learn are going then to have a very strong, intense impact in your life. If you want, because don't forget, here there's no obligation. Here there are opportunity. Here there are instrument. That who is going to use the instrument? You. So without your free will, without your intention, without your choices, nothing can happen. Even being tonight here is a choice. So you choose to spend time, not to do other millions of other things that you maybe like, to be here and to really be inspired by something that you feel deep inside of yourself. It is much more than valuable. It's precious, and it's touching your preciousness that unique element that is connecting to your soul. That is your spiritual path. That is your soul journey through spirituality. Now, you see, I'm studying, I'm already talking so much. And I have also to tell you that we choose a perfect day without knowing. But Tigrilla Gardenia found what we consider in Damanhur the day out of time, the epagomenoi days. So she will tell you more. Maybe you're going to find it in some of her podcasts. But like in the ancient tradition, the concept of the nativity is connecting to the birth of the gods. The Egyptian, they talk about 12 months of 30 days each. So 5-6 days, they've been out of the calendar. And they believe that in these days out of the calendar, so out of time, then all the gods and goddesses, they are born. So even what the Catholic Church linked to the 25th of December is in reality connected to that, and not to the Christ that probably has been born in May and not in December. So we believe that these days are longer than 5 and 6. And in these days, guys, is the perfect moment to plant seed. This is obviously a metaphor, but planting seed is really to plant new project, new idea, new things that you want to realize, new things that you want to manifest or attract in your life, even things that you want to let go that are useless, or that in any case you don't feel you're connected anymore. So this is a great time of acceleration. And today the 10th and the 4th, they being two very crucial moments. So until tomorrow morning, Italian time, 6:30, just that you are going to be, in a bubble of synchronicity that is really pushing hard in the direction that you can decide which is. Cuckoo. Okay, I talked about. Please ask me things now.
One, maybe two subjects. No, he touched on like 50. So many subjects there. For those of you that don't know what the Epagomenal days are, there's an entire podcast episode of that I'm Reconnect with Plant Wisdom podcast, my podcast I did the New Year's Eve week. So you can just go back. I think it's episode 38, I believe it is, 38. So 38, and you could get all into it. And this is an amazing, amazing time. So we have kind of two big areas of conversation that as I see, but of course, I always leave it up to all of you to help guide me in the way that we want to go. First and foremost, Crotalo, can you tell us a little bit about the school covers so many things, like you just said. What do you think are the most important? Like, how would you describe the breakdown? Year 1, year 2, year 3, not so much in what are the classes, but more of what is it that you really get out of it?
Well, when exactly 20 years ago, we designed the Mystery School with Falco, the aim was for Falco to share as much of our knowledge, as much of the things that we know that we are using in Damanhur that before they've been reserved only to the initiate of the esoteric school of Damanhur, what we call the school of meditative action. So he allowed to share, I don't want to say almost everything, but truly almost everything, because he told us that the time that we're crossing, we're talking about now, it's going to be so important for the events that we are going to live or that we're going to encounter, that it's better to take the risk to give more to people, even if maybe they are not going to use it correctly. Correctly means not for evolution, but maybe for the ego. Then not be ready for this important appointment. So that is the overall view of everything. And even when we push, in our opinion, over the limit, he pushed much further this limit, putting really techniques, opportunity, connections, forces, intelligence, energies, whatever you can imagine and dream, really available for everyone. Now, 3 years of course, people sometimes they might be, a little bit skeptical, or, okay, do I have to commit 3 years? And I always say, let's do step by step. So it will be already great to join the first year. That, in my opinion, is a very crucial one for the element that we're really talking. And then, it's like when you sit in a good restaurant here in Italy. You start with an appetizer, and then maybe another one, and then another one, and then, the first, and then another first, and the second. So anyhow, so the concept is that probably step by step, little by little, you are going to discover that you cannot, let's say, avoid to continue, because this is becoming the connection with the true part of yourself, with the reason why you're here. So let me just go straight to the point. So the 3 goals that are connected to the different years. The first year, well, is the opening or the reopening. So it is really the year in which we are going to look inside and to rediscover completely who we are. Of course, we have a very nice or clear idea of ourselves, but I'm sure there is going to be always limited or less of what you really are. So the first year, it's done really to do a very deep journey inside of yourself. So that's the reason why the metaphor is the seed. So the seed is maturating inside of the earth. Obviously need to receive, the elements, the water, whatever, the earth, to grow, but the seed doesn't know yet what is containing. We don't know if this is going to blow then a plant, a tree, a flowers, a fruit or vegetables. So all the first year is really going to be the rediscovering of all the different talent, of all the different possibilities, of all the different connection that are connected to memory and time. So it's really the new birth in a way, if we want to really to synthesize this in this way. The second year is literally the opening. So the blooming of the seed, and the blooming of the seed, it means that we are starting to have a new awareness, a new consciousness of ourselves, but we're starting to bring this new awareness in contact with what is around us. So we're starting to interact with the environment in a completely different way. It means we're starting to learn how to connect, communicate, interact with the many different energies, forces, elements that are constantly talking, trying to communicate, trying to interact with us, but we don't see, we don't hear, probably we are also a little bit asleep. So it is the connection with everything that is in the invisible, as we call it, the threshold, beyond. But it's also the connection with the others. So we don't have to forget that all of this has to be back into a process of transformation in our everyday life. So it's going to be also a completely different connection with the others, with our emotions, with the feelings, with the perceptions of what we call reality, that, as we are going to learn, is never objective, but is always subjective. So the second year is really the blooming, the opening, the reconnection with everything around us. Third year, well, the third year is another very exciting one, because I'm going to tell you a very, very special word, or again, a word that is very exciting. That is a classical question for many people. We call it the mission. Ta-da! Like 007 going to a mission. We are all spiritual 007 going for our mission in this lifetime. So why I'm here? How I'm going to use all these talents? Why I have these talents? So in which way that I'm going to use it? Now that I know how to connect with everything, so which is the purpose of my life? So the third year, it's all about getting more and more element, more and more hint of the mission of this lifetime. That, of course, could be connected to what we already did before. But this is really how we're going to spend all these precious parts, all this precious talent into something that it's going to be our way for the enlightenment. Now, I don't want to exaggerate because personally, I don't know you, I'm here to enlighten. Okay? I'm still struggling, not only a little bit, but I wanted to enlighten. I mean, I really wanted to do it in this lifetime. Not sure I'm going to do it, but I said, okay, my target maximum, another one, and that's it. So in a way, when we talk about the mission, we talk about the fast track for enlighten ourselves. So knowing and then being able to fulfill the mission is an amazing process in every lifetime. Remember, knowing the mission doesn't mean that you are accomplished the mission. It's still one step. But believe me, you are probably the 0.01% of the population of the planet that it might be aware and willing to really find your mission and to accomplish your mission. Because unfortunately, the majority of people are asleep, okay? They're sleeping in the common way of living, in watching Netflix, in having, the weekend in some fancy place, in working every day, go to pension, and then looking back and maybe not be sure that you've been really realizing what you really dreamed or want. Now, I'm not talking about you, but that is a scenario that often I see around me with a lot of people, with a lot of respect, because this is also choice. But we are designed for something unique, something special. We are here for something that you and only you can realize. The mission, it is something that is really designed on your structures of soul, the soul structure that actually is part of some of the seminar that you're going to learn, and is always connecting to others and to something bigger. So it's not only about our ego, obviously, but something that it is really the piece of the puzzle of a big drawing, of a big picture. So it is very emotional, is very special, and is very unique in every lifetime to truly, let's say, connect with these elements.
Beautiful. I love it. This is the exciting part. Today, I was actually having a conversation with one of my groups of students, and we were talking about that, the structure of your soul and really understanding it and how much your life changes when you start to realize the parts and how your soul is made up and then actually find access to them. And that's, I think, the beauty of this entire program is that it's not just theoretical. This is about like learning how things work, the cosmology of our universe, the pieces of the way that our soul are made up. What are the different elements? But then the ability to actually access them and to use them. And I think that that is what makes such a unique experience, because of all that 50 years of history in Damanhur, gives us the application of what happens when you are able to put all of this to work for you. How does your life change? How are you able to accomplish things? How do you really step into your life purpose and connect that into your soul mission? How do you get all those different parts of your personality that might be at war today? How do you get them to work together? So these are all those pieces that we're going to go putting into place so that then you have more control and you can actually exercise your free will, which is, as we know, not something that we all exercise on a regular basis. We tend to just sort of go with the flow with our conditioning rather than actually stepping in and knowing and with full conscious awareness of what it is that we're doing. Does anybody have any questions? Go for it, Lori. I know it. I know it. Do it. Don't be modest. And Jill, I see you too. I know your mind is already starting to like, look at it. It's like, I'm going to hold myself back. Veronica's probably drawing in order to not ask too many questions either. I know my kitties. I know my sprouts. Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah, not being modest, just having lots of questions and trying to pick from them one that's, relevant to most of us. So does completing the mystery school, how does completing the mystery school prepare you to become an initiate of Damanhur, or is that actually a part of it? And as Tigrilla knows, I'm actually in the School for Spiritual Healers right now, but of course very curious about all of it. And I won't be leaving the School for Spiritual Healers. It is fulfilling many of what you just listed as the goals of the mystery school as well. But I'd like to understand, I think, a little more about how they're the same and how they're different. And then, I mean, like just how it would propel me forward in my journey, my goal, which is really to eventually be a member of the community.
Well, let me just, well, thank you for the question, first of all, because the question are always helping, to touch different elements. So let me just go really straight to the point. The mystery school doesn't mean that you have to become a Damanhurian, that you have to become an initiate, that you have to come to live in Italy, and that's it. Even if, it could also be nice. So that is not the purpose. That is not the aim, and this is not what we want. Let me say better. So the mystery school is the greatest support for your transformation. Is the greatest support to help you to find your way. And to find your way, you first have to understand who you are, what you have inside. What's around you is constantly trying to talk from outside, from inside, from your inner voice, and how to direct all of this in something practical that we call mission. So the mystery school is born to support all of you guys to find your spiritual way. Whatever it is, that could be Damanhur, could be another one. These days, I'm in contact with some of the most famous spiritual guides. And, it's amazing to see how at the end, coming from different point of view, we are talking the same exactly language. We're looking for the same exactly goal, even if I'm using some kind of terms and another one is talking about something else. And by the way, it's here the 10th of January without any idea, doing the operation with us that was absolutely not planned, because at the end, he's coming for the same reason we are here, okay? And we met in Egypt, the day of the solstice, and I got the chance to invite this person to come here. So in other hands, so the mystery school, it is not the initiate path. If you want to become an initiate of the esoteric path, then you have to join the school of immediate action. Okay, still another things that is not the mystery school, is not the alchemy school, is not the school for spiritual healers, is not the school of the awakening dreamers. Each of these paths, they have specific goals. So probably I don't have to remind you, let's say, the goal of the path of the spiritual healing. Of course, healing is the most powerful process of transformation, but it's very specific to that. The mystery school is, as probably Tigrilla synthesized in a very good way, the most holistic approach to the Falcus teaching and the Damanhur teaching. Period. So you're going to get not only the essence, but the core of what this avatar is being capable to bring back in this period of time, and to seed into something that today we call Damanhur, that is going to be the place of inspiration for, we hope, everyone in the planet to find your spiritual way. Could be Damanhur or could be another one. I mean, I'm obviously happy if it's going to be Damanhur, but this it's not my goal, and it's not the goal of any of the teachers that you're going to encounter in the mystery school.
Actually, if I may interrupt here, a good way of thinking about it, especially since most of you, if not all of you, are American, a really great way of thinking about it is if you think about a university program that is your bachelor's degree and your master's, the mystery school is the associate's degree that you do in a lot of ways. It is that foundational piece that you do in those first 2 years, for example, you know, in this case, 3, but in the perspective of it is the foundation upon which everything else sits. So when you take one of the other schools, you might approach it from a sliver of it because you'll learn what is necessary for whatever it is that you're studying. So if you're doing alchemy, you'll learn certain elements. If you're doing dreaming, you'll learn certain elements. If you're in the spiritual healer school, certain elements. Where the mystery school is that exactly horizontal view of looking at yourself and these 3 elements that Crotalo was talking about, and then upon which you can lay anything. So it's actually an excellent foundation for just about any form of study, whether it's the initiatic path, which takes that in a more ritualistic side, because once you are an initiate, you have rituality and responsibilities and all these other pieces that fall on top of that. Or whether you go down even another school, right? But now you have a foundation of the cosmology of the universe that and of your own soul structure that helps you then adapt much quicker and much more easily to any other school, to any other form of study, to a continuation of this form of study. So that's kind of the way that the more and more I got into all of the Damanhurian knowledge, the more I realized that the elements that are presented in the mystery school are those foundational pieces. So,
Answer you.
So Jill wants to know who's here. Who's in Damanhur right now? You keep alluding to this person, but you didn't say.
No, I'm sorry, but I prefer until I cannot reveal it to say the name. Just for the privacy of the fact that this person is really connected here now for a spiritual mission or part of his mission. So I can tell you this is probably the number 1 more famous one at the moment that you can also find on Gaia. That's it.
My Gaia show's coming up soon too, by the way. So keep an eye out for Divine.
Yes, the Tigrilla is coming too, so
I was just told that it's in final editing.
Be ready, she's gonna be a superstar, so.
Okay, so next question, Nandini wants to know, can you cover some of the practicalities? Live classes or recordings available? Anyone to support the individual? Is this really an individual process or is it all group calls? How many visits to Damanhur do you have to do? Let's get into some of the specifics.
Into the specifics. So, first of all, I can tell my favorite things. So my favorite things is to obviously teach live. That's always. But COVID has been a great teacher to, let's say, encourage us also to brought everything also in a form that could be teach also by Zoom, that could be teach also without moving physically, because we know how much this could be, challenging, expensive, and etc. So for how we design this mystery school, we are going to have a little bit of everything. So we're going to have, live teaching. We are going to have, for sure, live Zoom teaching. As well, I really hope it's going to be a pleasure for you then to come to the source, to the place that for us, it's connected to these great energy lines that we call the synchronic lines, that 4 of them are interconnecting, crossing exactly where the temple of humankind, so the underground temple that we build, is located, and is located underground really to plug perfectly with this amazing source of energies. So we're going to have a little bit of everything. What I can tell you is that every year is based on 10 different experiences. Experiences in the classical modality could be easily translated in seminars, 2 days, the classical weekend, Saturday and Sunday, as we've been always teaching all along these years. Obviously, Again, this modality could be teach again by Zoom differently, because you don't want to stay 8 hours in front of the video, and it's actually not even needed, as sometimes could also be teach as an intensive period of time. If you come to Damanhur, you're going to stay here for at least 10 days or 7 days, and then we are going to have a work that is going to be intense, because we are going to teach for 6, 8, or whatever days we're gonna need then to complete that part. As Tigrilla says, all the seminars, they have always a part of knowledge, of information, of things that we are going to teach you, but there's going to be always the practical side of this. Techniques that we're going to not only learn, but we're going to practice together. We are going to experience together. And then that you're going to use when we're not going to have the class, because obviously you are going to learn so many techniques that probably you are going then to really choose the one that maybe are more suitable, pleasant for you, because there are going to be really, really many of them. Which are the topic? I can give you some highlights of the topic, because in reality the title, it is really a limitation to truly tell you how rich are going to be then the element connecting to the topic. And many of them, they also have several levels. Let me just give you an example. If I have to do a journey into time in which I have to discover my past life, but not only past life, because this is cool and I'm curious, but the past life that are the experiences that are mostly affecting my actual life. So my issue, my talent, my possibility, my struggles, etc., etc. So I need to do several journey into my past life. 5 of them, 5 levels. If I have to understand the cosmogony, the beginning of the beginning, from where I'm coming from, the structures of my soul, the laws that are managing the matter, how I'm going to, manage time, and how I'm going to understand time, well, I need at least 3 levels of what we call the spiritual physics. If I have to catch some of this information that it could be translated only through the threshold into the matter, so if I have to get the Akashic records that are there waiting for me, I need to go to several levels of techniques of astral traveling. 3 courses. If I have to draw the big pictures of the history of the humankind, and I have to go from the beginning of the beginning that is still affecting us in this moment, and it's going to give me element of how the future is going to be, again, I need 3 levels of the ancient history of the humankind, the pre-Atlantis and Atlantis history. But if I have to talk about personalities, and I have to learn how to manage with them, if I have to start to learn more and more individual techniques that are involving my energies, so the way of how I breathe, the way in which I can use sound, primordial sound, if I'm going to touch some energy inside of my body, so I need to learn some kind of position that are going to attract specific state of consciousness or connection with other life forms. So I need at least 3 levels of what we call the inner harmonization. And then if I have to train my inner senses, because there are much more senses that we are not using that are inside, and I have to affect through them also my microlines that are the map of the energy lines of the planet inside of a human body, well, again, I need definitely more than 1 seminar. If I have to work into my memories, if I have to work into transform my memories to affect my present. And I'm going to use what we call the time seed to do that. Well, I'm going to need, again, 3 different kind of levels. If I have to learn how to receive and how to connect with my dreams, again, so, and I can obviously continue to give you, let's say, very briefly, but I hope it will be enough in this way, the different topic that we are going to touch that maybe apparently they doesn't look so connected, but in reality, all of these elements, they are united. And touching one of them, it's like to touch all the rest. And even when it looks that the rest is separated from the others, there's going to be a point in which, a moment in which we are going to connect all of them with a completely different logic, understanding, and vision. Is it not true? So that's the mystery school.
And as a cohort, we can decide exactly how we want to break down those 10 seminars every year. So for example, there are some that are very well adapted to, let's do them through Zoom. Some, it's much better to just spend the weekend together. In some cases, instead, we might pick a day of the week where, you know, we meet every time and we do 2-hour chunks and we break through that. So the truth of the matter is that there's some flexibility in how we do this, and we want to find the right mix for the cohort. We all know we want to go to Paul's house, right, Paul? We're all meeting at Paul's house at some point. We're all going to California, and we're going to go meet on Paul's amazing land. We're going to probably meet up there, have a seminar or two, and make a spiral, right? So we're going to do. We've got this all planned out. So we know that at least one trip to California is necessary. And we know that at least one trip to Damanhur is absolutely necessary, right? These are our 2. Probably do an intensive here and an intensive at Paul's. Everything else, we can play around with it and try to understand exactly how we want to lay it out. If we want to lay it out as weekly meetings or whether we want to lay it out as weekend intensives and, you know, choose that path together, right, Crotalo?
Absolutely. No, we in this way, we already talked with Tigrilla, so we wanted really to offer you the most, let's say, adaptable experience, knowing that we are living in different places and knowing that sometimes the distance are really far. In other hands, we organized so many mystery schools in these last 20 years that we know how to do it, or let's say that is just a matter of, let's say, organization, is just a matter of, you know, do things with the right scheduling. And indeed, Tigrilla is the master. I'm not the master in organization in that, so she will find for sure the best way.
Absolutely. And on top of that, one of the things that's unique to this cohort is the idea that if we are going to meet together, as you all know, those of you that know me really well know that my big thing is the integration part. Crotalo is the master of the knowledge, and he is amazing at passing that knowledge with all the other instructors that are in the mystery school. My absolute love is making sure that all of that knowledge becomes a part of your daily life. So we are going to be adding the opportunity for everybody to get coaching and individual sessions and the ability for us to really work on the material that you're getting. In addition to receiving it as a group, you will also have the opportunity to work one-on-one with me on the integration piece of it. How does this become a part of your life? So we're going to weave that into what you have. Plus, we'll have a dedicated environment inside of the naturally conscious community, so all of you can stay connected. You won't have the endless like chats that are hard to follow and things like that. But instead, we'll have a space inside of NCC where we'll publish materials. We'll publish all the recordings for those opportunities and those moments where either you want to brush up on something or whether you had to miss a class for whatever reason, and that you will have the opportunity to talk with me, to ask questions of the instructors, and then also to ask questions of yourselves, because as we know, we all evolve faster when we work together. those mirrors, that opportunity to ask all those questions, the opportunity to see the reflections in other people is extremely important. And so all of our, every single time we'll do one of these seminars, we'll have the opportunity afterwards to continue the work through that one-on-one. Because this is just something, this is so life-changing. There are so many pieces that this is going to connect, especially because, as I know many of you, I know the knowledge that you have already. You're not looking for something that substitutes it. You're looking for something that enhances it. There's something that actually glues it together, that allows you to reach those deeper truths that you kind of know are sitting in there, but you just can't necessarily access. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. And we're going to be bringing our plant friends into this too, right? Because they are the ones that hold so much of this knowledge within them. The plant world has a lot of these elements that are sitting. And so this gives us an opportunity to really connect into it. I love it. Look at the chat. Paul's posting information about his retreat center. And so this is one of the places that we know we will be meeting, because we're all really excited about it. We all want it. We already, there's a writer's cottage. Like, we're all ready to dive in to the Glen Olive Wilderness Retreat Center. So at least one session will be there. We'll probably do an intensive there. We'll have some sessions that are here in Damanhur. 1, 2, I don't know, Crotalo. How often do you think, how does that work? How does the whole Damanhur piece fit in?
Well, I mean, again, it depends to how much you want to enjoy Damanhur in Italy, because we can go from, let's say, a journey that obviously is going to involve not only the teaching of the mystery school, but for sure, if you're going to come for the first time to Damanhur, you want to discover Damanhur, you want to experience the temple, you want to meditate in the temple, maybe also spending a night. Even if in some of the seminars already of the mystery school, this is an experience that is already part of it. So every time there's going to be the occasion to discover more and more other elements about the Damanhur reality. But it could be once a year, so we can manage, 3 different journeys. Often with American groups, we did 2 instead of 3. Again, this is also about the matter of time and investment to come in Europe. So we can also, let's say, combine some of the seminar in which we are completing part of the seminars, for example, of the first year, of the second year, or of the second year, on the third year, when you are going to come. As eventually, if we can then manage to do even longer trip, we can also add some of the seminar that instead to do it by Zoom or to do it, in another place of the world, we are going to teach them right here.
And of course, the big question, the cost. Well, it's actually the little question in reality in this case.
Well, I believe that you remember better than me all the costs and everything. So because you are part of the organization, so that's the question for you.
I'm like, just pass the buck to me.
No, it's true. Everyone has different, talents.
I'll be perfectly honest. We actually haven't sat down and had a conversation about the exact cost, because I wanted to first have this information center and I wanted to gather from you kind of like which are the ways that we're going to organize this. So in the answer to your question, Veronica, specifically is when we will give you the final cost for every year, it will include all of the classes. It will include everything that is the actual classwork. And then if we choose to go meet someplace in person, for example, like if we go to the Glen Olive Retreat Center, or when you come to Damanhur, we will just add on what are the room and board pieces and the pieces that are the elements connected to that. So, and of course, right, travel. So that is part of the way that we'll lay it down. But we have to sit down and look at it, because one of the difficulties with American groups is that we understand that obviously, like, coming to Damanhur every weekend is probably not going to be possible. So we have to modify that slightly into what are the possibilities. So he and I will sit down after this, now that we have a better idea of what everybody's desire is, and then we will figure out what it is, and I'll send it all to everybody when I send out the recording for this. One of the questions that happened, so Paul wants to know, Crotalo, do some seminars occur as part of field trips, like maybe Egypt or some other location?
But that's for sure. I mean, a journey like Egypt or Mexico or others, they are truly, let's say, the practical parts on the road, on the way. You know, it's the life part of everything. So there's gonna be for sure more and more occasion than to practice whatever we're gonna learn, and the spiritual journeys are definitely, you know, one of them.
Yeah, these are always definitely a possibility for you to experience to, and if you have the opportunity, we have several people here that have taken journeys with Crotalo before. I'm sure that they will happily give you their testimonial, how much they enjoyed that trip, right? Look at Rochelle and Judith nodding type of head.
Michelle, Judith, so and others, they already had, you know, some crazy experiences.
Yeah, exactly. So M says, I think definitely once a year for coming to Damanhur or meeting somewhere. So it would probably, in this particular case, would be 1 year Damanhur, 1 year the Glen Olive Retreat Center, and then 1 year Damanhur again. And so that we have that experience. And yeah, I would vote, she says, I would vote for longer sessions or time when we get more in and experience more while there. And that's probably going to be the best way for us to do some like intensive periods where we get together, we do a set of classes together, because having the naturally conscious community and having the regular meeting time, so then we'll probably have an online meeting time and maybe 1 or 2 classes that are easier to do on an online space so that we can continuously see each other and have that growth, but have that moment where we're all together and experience the actual seminar together. I will then take that all into consideration. We'll sit down with Crotalo and kind of work out what will look like cost-wise for everybody. Any other questions? Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi. So I'm assuming that over the 3 years, you know, each year is sort of building on the previous year. Is that true within the framework of each year? So within the first year, you know, are the first courses then, you know, the foundation and build, are the classes that are later in that year building on what we've learned initially? Does that make sense? I hope I said that right.
But definitely for some of the seminars, when we are going to go to the levels, so first year is pretty easy to imagine that we're going to have all first levels and sometimes also even a second level of some of the seminars. So for them, classically, if you didn't do the one before, you cannot do the one after, simply because you don't have all the information, or you don't have, you know, the practice, or you don't have, let's say, the element that then are going to be helpful for the next. It's also true that in the second years, there are still elements that not necessarily are all totally, let's say, depending to the other seminars, because they are going to be so specific that you're going to learn, you know, new things. In the third year, I would say that almost the 90% of them are really connected to what you did before.
Yeah, and there's some, like, for example, past lives being 5 levels, that of course you're going to do more than 1 level in a year. So there are those kinds that build, and certain other pieces of information that build on, you know, you have to understand personalities in order to be able to get other pieces. So there will be some pieces that are that way. Nandini asks the question, Crotalo, what if you can't make it to one of the intensive? Do you miss out on the information, or is there a way for you to catch up?
No, there's always a way to catch up, for the simple reasons that there are also other mystery school, maybe not exactly in English, or there's going to be translated by English in other languages. But by the way, there's always a way to catch up them. There's always a way to recover. And in case you already did some seminars, because maybe you did a past life with me years ago, or with Shama, or maybe you did an astro traveling. So no worries. So in this case, we always recommend to repeat the class, but I mean, for sure, also price-wise, we can also, you know, try to encourage you to repeat the class, let's say.
And when possible, we'll try to host in a hybrid. If there is somebody who can't come for whatever reason, and the course lends itself for that, we could try to do a hybrid online and in-person type of perspective so that you don't miss out on the actual course. Some courses that's not possible because, especially the courses that are some of the ones that we'll hold here, you go into the temples of humankind and there's other activations and pieces that happen. And therefore, for those, we'll just have to hold it until you can come and experience that in person. But for others, we will be able to set up hybrid environments where we'll have, some people on Zoom. It's not ideal. I'm going to be honest. I am a Zoom pro. I love Zoom. I do a lot of stuff on Zoom and I feel like I do it pretty well. But hybrids are tough. And we will do our best, but they're, we really love it when we choose to either do all Zoom or all in person, and we'll try as much as possible to go with that. But we will always leave the option for when there's the course lends itself for a hybrid if it turns out that people can't make it. And we will definitely have the recordings for all of the different pieces. But again, there are some courses that have experiential pieces that the recordings don't necessarily work. You have to have it in person. But for that, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with it when it happens, Nandini. Don't worry about it. So, any other questions? Jill, is that I have a question, or are you holding yourself back? You have to, she's holding herself back. You have to.
No, both. Some of these, I'm feeling now that we all have a Damanhur base in us, a natural, God-given base of this that we're trying to, without realizing that's where we're going, we've been building on this, and it's the natural way of our spirit to bring us through these challenges, and these depths, because people don't talk about these topics, but we feel it inside that we're experiencing them, and we're pulling from this stuff that we don't even have a person to talk to about it. But how can we, I guess what I'm trying to sense is, how deep do those classes go? How can we find out where we are now and see where the classes are? Does that make sense? Because I have developed, I'm personally involved very deeply with understanding personalities and working with that in my artwork for over 10 years now, over maybe more than that. But it's
so. Look, here's how I would
makes me go to purple just to say it out loud. So you'll
no. And Jill, it's a great question. Here, I'm going to tell you my personal experience as a person who was a former Kabbalah teacher, who is an initiate of two other mystery schools two other initiatic paths before ever coming to Damanhur, and countless other modalities. So I completely understand the perplexity and the question. The question is a good question. Here's the thing that I have found about Damanhur. This is my personal experience only, and I'm sure that Crotalo will give his. It's like the glue that all of a sudden gives you it's like, I think about it like it's the architecture, like the elements that show you the structure of everything. And what I have found is that what it does is allow you to understand at a deeper level everything else that you've ever studied, because it glues it all together. It shows you that structure that allows you to piece together the things that you have, like you just said, intuitively been receiving and working with. It lets you see, like you said, you've been working with the personalities, but now all of a sudden this will click into place how your personalities fit into your soul. Like, what does that look like? And then how can you connect? I was just in the class I was with before, our soul being made from the way it is means that you're connecting into universal eternal love directly. It's a direct channel there. But our personalities are the windows that we use to bring it back out, right? So this is about giving you that structure, whether we're talking about, like Crotalo said, harmonization. How do I really expand my perceptions? How do I come into my body in a completely different way so that I can maximize my perceptions? How do I go into ancient civilizations and not just talk about the Mayans or talk about this,
Right.
but talk about the way life has developed in the entire universe and how it comes into our planet. Where does it even freaking come from? Like, these are the big, deep questions that take everything you've learned and give it a structure, like a map which is the reason I fell in love with Kabbalah, was for the same reason. At a much more energetic level, this starts to put all of the history of humanity into that place too, and our physical incarnation into place. I map out my 5 past lives. I understand how to tap into the others. I see then how my own life, what is my purpose here? How does the mission fit in for my soul? What does my soul look like? Like, all of those pieces get touched. So regardless of whatever you've studied, this will give you a place for you to put it and expand it. Hopefully that answers the question.
I'm glad gave you a chance to speak it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Lori.
Actually, I want to affirm that, having finished the first year and entered the second year of the School for Spiritual Healers, and I recognize that all the teachers, they teach across the schools, they're all fantastic. And so I assume that my experience in the School for Spiritual Healers would be very much like what you might experience in the Mystery School. And that is the first hour of the first class. I experienced such a sense of, oh my God, this explains a thing I've been seeking and trying to explain my whole life in the words I could never find. And it was such a sense of homecoming. I'm in exactly the right spot. That has not left me for a single minute across now a year and a half. And yeah, I mean, yes to the structure, but that's actually kind of dry and boring compared to the inner explosion that accompanies that. That's what I have to say.
I love it. Thank you, Lori. Anyone else? Any other questions? Anyone not interested? Just checking. You know, I have to ask the question. I'm not trying to call you out. It was just more of a curiosity.
You mapped out a causal body. Oh, shoot.
It's all good. Nothing else? That's it. We've been that good, Crotalo. Like, we almost did it in an hour. It's just only a little over an hour. It's pretty good.
Means that we did a good job.
I'm with that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that it's a good job. It's a great day. It's an important day. And so I think the synchronic flow is in our favor.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, if there are no other questions, then I think we can wrap this up. First of all, let me just say this. I am so grateful for your presence, for being here, and for participating and asking your questions. More practical question. Hold on, one last question. Weekly time investment. How much do you think a person has to put in every week?
But it depends to you, because we decided to spend all our life in this path creating Damanhur, so it might be tempting for you, but it's hard to say how much time in a week. 2 hours, 4 hours, nothing. It's very much up to you. So there's not really a specific time for that, but I'm sure that you're going to be surprised of how much time you're going to spend because you love it.
I back him up. I think that's true. Fantastic. Jill, I'll answer your question and a few others in the next time we have a group call, because it's one of those that, me, I'm going to go off on a tangent. So I'll give it to you in one of my tangents inside of one of our other calls. So fantastic. So as I was saying, thank you all for being here. Thank you, I am going to put you all down as interested. And I will work with Crotalo next to figure out our next steps, costs, and how we want to kick this off. I'm excited.
I'm
Anybody else
excited too.
excited? I'm excited. So this is going to be great. We're going to have so much fun. I will be posting inside of NCC under Sprout discussions in the replay section. I'll be posting this recording. If you have anyone else that you think would be interested in the mystery school, in what we do in NCC, please invite them. I'll send the link out so that you have it. We would love to have a nice group of people. Anyone who spends any time here in NCCs know that for me, safe space, a place where we really start this journey together and can really open ourselves to everything that it involves is extremely important to me. So I also want you to feel like at any point, even in these days, if more questions come up, if you have curiosities, if you'd like to jump on a call and talk through whether or not this is the right experience for you, please feel free to reach out to me. I am happy to talk it all through and to us to make a decision. I want you to feel like this is really the path that you want to take. And I'm just like, I'm giddy. I'm giddy about what our next steps will be. But that's me. I'm kind of like that. I'm made that way. All right. One quick announcement that's separate from the mystery school, but if any of you are interested or if you know people who are interested, next week on the 18th, we will have the Befriend Your Limiting Beliefs webinar. This is a webinar to help you really understand that your limiting beliefs are actually trying to protect you and how you can become better friends with them to help kind of step out of discipline and into flow in order to achieve your goals. So this is one of my favorite webinars, and I'm going to be hosting it inside of NCC, similar to what we did here today. And I would love to see you all there too. So this is all will be part of also inside of the mystery school, because once you're inside of NCC and the way that we will set up the mystery school is you will have access to everything. So you will have the opportunity to participate in our book club and in all the other activities, our writing group and our artistry group and all the different elements that we have in there too. So it's even more than just the mystery school. It's like it's a little whole new home that you get to have. So thank you again, and I wish you all a beautiful day. I think for everybody it's probably day. For us, it's evening. But a beautiful day. Enjoy the rest of your day. And if you need anything, you just contact me directly. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Come
Thank you.
boy.